Welcome. Alright, so today we're going to work on factorization, and for this video I'm going to look at the overview of factorization, the different let's say topics within it, and then I'm going to briefly go into common factorization. So the reason why I'm starting with factorization is, well, through my years of tutoring, I've realized that quite a few students from grade 9 up until grade 12, even those in like IB, actually struggle quite a bit with this. So, and there's really no need to. And the thing is, if you actually struggle with this, it makes so many other topics so much more difficult. It makes equations very difficult. It makes algebraic fractions so much more difficult because these are the building blocks, right? So yeah, we will start with this today. So first of all, let's look at common factor. So common factor is very simply if we have something like maybe this, right? And then we just take out the common factor, which in this case will be like 2. And then factorize it like this, right? And then difference of squares will be something alongside this form, right? These two generally will be maybe the more easier ones. Where it's gonna get tricky is gonna be with trinomials. So I'm actually gonna have 3 separate videos on this. So it's gonna be when like the coefficient of x squared is 1, so something that looks like this, or the coefficient is not 1, so maybe we have a 2x squared plus 2x plus 2. So the difference here is basically the coefficient here. And then there is another method in which you actually use grouping. So in general at school you'll probably be taught these first two, but I will show you this one because well, sometimes it's just good to know these things, but usually if you just know these top two you'll be fine. But before we do that, we will also be looking at grouping and then difference of cubes, right? Difference of cubes similar to difference of squares, except we have a cube. So this one is also pretty simple actually. That look tricky but quite simple. All right, so let us start with common factor. All right, so we can start with common factor. So in general, before we even get to common factor, the philosophy of factorization. The philosophy of factorization is quite simply taking an expression, so let's say 2x plus 2 plus 2y. All right, so we take an expression here. This expression has a total of 3 terms. Please assume everybody knows what terms are, but if you don't, please do comment in the do leave a comment and I'll try to make a video. But anyways, so an expression will have multiple terms, so in this case it's 3 terms. We take these 3 terms, factorize this. So in this case 2x plus 1 plus y, and we end up with one term. So the whole idea of factorization is just taking an expression with multiple terms and shrinking it or collecting it into one term. It's a very simple concept. It's basically, I don't know, a shopping bag at the grocery store. You have a bunch of stuff in your trolley. You want to carry them out. So what do? You use a plastic bag. Factorization is that plastic bag. That's all it is. You know, it's a backpack. It's a douche bag. It's any sort of bag. So that's really the basic idea of it. So whenever we going through factorization, just always try to remember that what you want is to reduce your number of terms. So starting with common factor, let me start with, let's say we have this. All right. So I have two terms here, right? So I have two terms. Now, when we talk about common factor, the very important thing is, well, we have to ask ourselves, what are factors? So factors are, like the factors of a number, are basically a number, a variable that if you divide that number with, you'll be left with, well, a whole number, or basically something that is, yeah, you either be left with a whole number or a clean variable, but you'll not be left with like a fraction or anything like that. So in this case, if we look at the factors of 3, so the factors of 3 are just going to be 1 and 3. So the way we find these factors is we check, can 3 be divided by 1? Yes, it can. All numbers are divisible by 1. Can 3 be divided by 2? No. You divide 3 by 2, you get 1.5, which is not a whole number. Can 3 be divided by 3? Yes. That gives you a 1. And once you get there, these are your two factors. For 3x, it's going to be the same thing. We get 1 and 3. These are the factors of this 3 here. But we also have an additional factor, which will be x. Because as you know, whenever you have a number next to a variable, there is, well, simply a multiplication sign here, really. So there is a sort of multiplication sign. So if you divide 3 by 1 and 3, you're going to get a whole number. And also if you divide 3x by x, you're going to be left with 3. So again, you get a whole number. So x is actually going to be a factor of 3x. So we have these two lists of factors, right? And then we look at the other term, common. So what's common between them? You see that the common factor is going to be 3 and 1. When it comes to 1, we generally ignore this. It's there, but it's not really useful because each and every single term has a factor of 1. It's just the universal rule, so it makes it really less than useless, really. So we don't really use that. It's there, but we don't really use it. So we're going to be focusing on everything but the 3. So here we have the common numbers. These are 3 and 3. So once you find the common number, the common factor, you take that out, you open up brackets, and then you basically ask yourself, what number do you have to multiply with in here in order to get 3x? So to be able to get 3x, if you have a 3, you have to multiply with x, right? Here's a plus, so we put a plus here as well. what number do we have to multiply with to get a 3? That would be a 1. And there it is, it's factorized. And you can actually check this. You can check to see if your factorization is correct by multiplying out this bracket. So this requires a knowledge of products. Please let me know if you struggle with products. I will make a video as quickly as I can, but the thing is, most of these videos are just gonna come yeah, they're really just gonna come from requests, really. So here 3 times x is gonna give us 3x, and then 3 times 1 is gonna give us 3, and which is the same thing here, right? And there it is. So that is the basic idea of common factor factorization. Factorization as a whole is all about just putting everything into a bag in order to be able to easily use it, in order to be able to easily carry it. And then you have to just find what's common with it. Again, I will use the shopping bag analogy. So the common factor is like if you have, I don't know, you put a couple of stuff, you have frozen stuff, you know, meat and stuff, and then you have something dry like, you know, flour or something. You wouldn't want to put them in the same bag, so you find what's common between them. The common ones would be the wet stuff, so you put the wet stuff in one bag and you put the dry stuff in another bag. So that's finding the common factor, basically. And yeah, that's the idea. So we'll look at another example. Let's just say we have 4x plus 8. Okay. Again, we try to look at the factors. So I know here I'm generally writing down the factors, but you get to a point in which you can just do all of this in your head, right? So we know that it's going to be 1, 2, right? Can 4 be divided by 3? Not really, but leaving a remainder. Can 4 be divided by 4? Yes, it can. And the other factor will be x, right? And then we'll look at the factors of 8. It's going to be 1. Can it be divided by 2? Yes. Can it be divided by 3? Not really. Can it be divided by 4? Sure. Can it be divided by 5? Nope. Divided by 6? Nope. Divided by 7? Nope. Divided by 8? Yes. And these are our factors. So here we actually see that we have 2 factors that are common between them. We have 2 and 4. Very importantly, whenever you're in this situation, what you actually look for is the highest common factor. So the common factor that's just the highest between those two, which in this case will be 4. So our common factor here, our highest common factor, is going to be 4. And as such, we'll take 4, take it out of bracket, and we'll do the same thing we did before. What do we have to multiply 4 with in order to get 4x? We have to multiply it with x. What do we have to multiply 4 with in order to get an 8? We have to multiply that with 2. And there we have it. There it is, factorized. And yeah, from here it can get much more complicated. I will leave maybe the more complicated stuff for the later chapters because I want to keep these videos short. But also, we're gonna be redoing this a lot, especially when it comes to grouping, even, you know, difference of squares, even in trinomials. We always gonna come back to the same thing of common factors, because whenever you're doing factorization, the first thing you look at before anything else, you always look at the common factor. You always try to find the common factor. So it's always going to be used in every form of factorization and in pretty much every form of algebra and math as a whole. Alright, so thank you for listening, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, post comments, tell us what we can improve, tell us what you like, tell us what we can do more, and I'll see you guys next time.